into health and mobility for head and shoulders. What we will do over these series of videos goes through movements and tension patterns in order to understand and mobilize ourselves to feel healthier and more capable. Thank you. In the first video, we will work on the cervical spine movements. I will show the movements from a seated position in order to isolate the movement from the movements of the rest of the spine. And I will show them in two versions of angle to illustrate the movement pattern. We will go through several movements that encapsulate the initial movement, and in the next video I will show more complex variations of these basic colors. We will start with a yes motion, meaning the chin all the way to the chest as much as possible and bringing it up as much as possible. Down and up. If you can, allow your breath to start the movement. So I'll show this in a different angle. So from here, when you're going backwards, you may feel that the back of your skull is meeting with where the cervical spine meets the rest of the spinal column. There is nothing bad with it. Just don't try to grind yourself. It doesn't help. Now, the first movement is yes. So naturally, the next movement will be no. So from here, notice that I'm not trying to move my chin, but I'm rotating the entire neck sideways. I'm not leading with my chin. That's a different motion. Instead, I'm rotating the top of the spine, meaning this would be like the center of the head. So from here to the side, without raising or moving the shoulder yet, to the other side, to the side, side, and centering again. Don't try to find one position where you're more comfortable than the others. Let it move from one position to the other. Now I'll show the same movement from a different perspective. So from here, turning from the top of the head, side and side, side and side. Because the spine itself doesn't have any muscles within it, and the flow of movement within it is simply a byproduct of everything else that is happening in the body, we are creating movements, and these movements are massaging, opening, and feeding the spinal column as the movements go. Now, the next movements after the yes and the no would be the maybe. In the maybe, we are moving our heads from side to side on this axis, and the idea is not to bring the shoulder up to the ear, but to move the head so it brings the body sideways, sideways. In here, you are mostly focusing on the top of the cervical spine. So from here it's more this sort of movement, but don't force yourself to just move at the top of the cervical movement. Move the entire length of the neck spine. So from here, like so, opposite. From here, you start at the top of the cervical spine and you continue towards the rest of it. Good. Now, the last movement in this series of drills will be the back and forth, you can call it, or however you like. What I'm doing is moving my entire neck, my entire head here as a unit. Well, this is one parallel line and this is one parallel line, and both of them are moving back and forth as if on a rail. So from here, this and this are going back and forth, and moving with my breathing, and then sideways, meaning this angle. From here, it's not no shoulder bunching or anything, simply I'm keeping both my chin at the top of my head, still always parallel to the ground in this motion. This is the first in the movement of the neck. Next one will be at a different angle. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the second in the series of the cervical spine. Now we're going to repeat the same movements that we've done seated, but standing and bending forward or bent forward. The reason for this is to allow the movements to come from a different point, from a pulling perspective, meaning that well, the earth is pulling us in opposite manners when we're upside down, and the ability to align ourselves both with our eye movements and with the movements of the body upside down are just as important, especially for movement and, well, having fun. What I'm going to start with is simply moving the head in the yes movement, but I'm going to bend forward. So from here and from here, from here, the feeling that you get from moving the muscles when you're upside down, when you're hanging upside down, is completely different, and it helps in aligning yourself to this different perspective. Now we'll do the same stage, so no movement, and again the top of the head is the axis that you're running through. It's not moving the chin forward and moving yourself out of line. And here, next movement will be moving sideways. So from here, I'm moving my head, all of my cervical spine is mobilized towards the shoulder. So from here, if you are hearing all sorts of clicks and movements in your body, that's fine. Don't mix the feelings of discomfort with pain. There's no need for any of those, but you might feel a bit of heat and movement going through the body. Last movement in this video would be moving the head on a rail. So moving here, like so. I'm showing both directions. Like so. Now when you're coming up and when you're going down, remember not to lock yourself into position. So when I'm going down, I'm relaxing my knees, and when I'm coming down, my knees are coming forward to create a whole movement. Thank you. Welcome to the third video in cervical spine health. Now what we're going to do is mix the movements that we've done in the first and second videos. What I'm going to do is to create patterns of movement with my head using the cervical spine movements, and in the next video we're going to also add the shoulders into it. So first what I'm going to do is go back and forth on a rail, so I'll show from a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to add the yes movement to it. So rail movement, and vice versa, meaning that I'm starting the amplitude of the yes in the opposite of what it was before. So instead of going 1 and 2, meaning that I start in this direction, I'm starting in this direction. So it can be either this, you start this way, or you can start with the other one, and that is paramount if you want to be able to move with any wave that comes your way, any movement that comes your way. If you only have this ability to move instead of this ability to move, I'll show from this angle. So if something comes this way and you're always moving up, then you're resisting, blocking, and steering yourself. But if you're able to move in two directions of the wave, you're able to surf anywhere. So I'll show again a bit of 45-degree angle, just rare movement, and now I'm starting one yes movement, amplitude. So I'm starting, when I'm coming back, I'm starting with lowering the chin. So as you can see here, and the second variation is the one where I start with raising the chin as I go along. So good. This is a combination of two very simple movements, but they may look a bit different to do in the beginning. Don't work on speed. Speed will come when you're comfortable. Now let's do a different combination. I'm going to start with moving my head from side to side, and then adding a bit of a yes to it as well. What I've done is going this way, at the same time I'm also lowering my chin. So here, back and forth, back and forth. I'll show from another position, from here. Now, if I start the opposite amplitude, it means that as I go to this area, I'll also go to the opposition of the yes. So what this gives me is again a chance to ride everything that comes my way, and to be able to not try to force myself into movement, but to simply blend in, to join in combat, or to join the movement as it is. Now what we'll do is do a different sort of movement from here. We've done a rail movement where you're going back and forth. Now let's do a rail movement where you're going side to side. So from here, if you've seen Indian movies, you've seen this movement too. So here, make sure that you're not raising your shoulders without paying attention to it. And as you do these movements, you're also feeding your cervical spine, making yourself more supple and healthy. I'll do it in a 45-degree angle. Now, let's do rail movement forward and back and side to side at the same time. So this amplitude would create a circle that is paralleling the ground. Instead of going up and down like this, we're paralleling the ground. So from here, what I'm doing is keeping myself parallel, but I'm also railing myself in one direction while I'm going side to side and back and forth at the same time. I'll show the same thing from angles, from here, back and forth, side to side, all together. Good. Now, what I want you to do is to work on the twist. So we'll do the no movement, also do the yes movement as we're doing that. So I'll start with the no, and as I'm doing the no, I'm adding the yes to it. And as you can see, everyone has their own preference, or our bodies have preferences. Just like everyone has a position where this feels natural and this feels unnatural, the same way here. As I go backwards, I'm always inclined to do this. Why? Because of my inner structure, because of my imbalances, different levels of lungs, and this can also switch in different terms of the body. So as I'm doing this, I need to work both angles. So it's now, instead of starting to here when I'm going to here when I'm going back. And again, this will allow me to free float and be with the movement as I go along. And that simply goes over the fact that it makes my neck healthier, stronger, and much more able to work in any condition. Thank you. Next video will be about moving the neck against a light resistance, and we're going to be using the wall for this. We're going to start by facing away from the wall and taking a step away. And from here, what I'm going to do is place my hands on the back of my neck and lightly bend until I touch the wall. Now from here, what I'm going to do is do the same movements that I've done before. So saying yes, saying no, and again it's just against light resistance, and maybe, and I'm waiting. After I've done this with one step away from the wall, and it feels comfortable, I'll take another step away, and I'm going to reach for the wall, here, and again, from here, yes. No. Maybe. And waiting. After you've done this facing away from the wall, I'll do the same, only facing towards it. So taking a step away, facing it, yes. And here it's important to keep the body relaxed. You're not tight, so you're not going and loading tension in other parts of your body. No. Maybe. And ready. It's a very simple thing that you can do almost anywhere you have a little bit of good support, or you can do this as a partner drill before you work on something that will need a loose, relaxed, capable neck. Thank you. Hello, welcome to the next video. What we're going to do now is combine the movements of the shoulders and shoulder blades with the movements of the neck. What I'm going to do is combine two movements to create a more lucid whole, meaning that I can allow movement to transfer and to transfer movement as I go along. I will start with rotating one shoulder forward, like so. And from this I'm going to rail forward, so. And as you can see, it really enlarges, frees the movement. I'll do the same thing going backwards. I'll use the opposite shoulder. And as you can see, as I add the rail movement to it, it creates a much bigger movement forward, backwards, let's say from the back, like so. What this gives you is the ability to combine and allow movements to go past. Now I'm going to raise one shoulder up and move the head to the opposite location, so from here. I'm raising one shoulder, moving the head to the opposite shoulder and back. 1 and 2, 1, 2. And then I'm moving shoulder up and head towards it. Like so. Now, I'm extending the shoulder blades to the side. So from the back, I'm extending my shoulder blades to the sides, not in, out, and it's not the shoulder out, it's the shoulder blade. So I'm extending the shoulder blade out and I'm going into the upper position of the S. Other side. And together. What this gives you is opening a pathway of tension to flow through your body as you're moving along. I'll show the same from the side. This is just the movement of the head, and this is with the addition of movement of the shoulder blades, either inner or outer. It creates different manifestations. So Here you're opening up your cervical spine and spine toward what the ribs are, and here you're opening yourself into more movement. Now, what we'll do now is a bit of free play where I'm expecting something to come and moving with it. So I'm moving the shoulders in space in free movement, adding the movements of the shoulder blade, and moving my neck and eyes along with it. I show from a sideways angle. Let's say something comes my way, I can start and meet into it, go in all sorts of lines, become truly free with what I'm doing with my shoulders and head. This is good for either pre or post trauma in the neck and shoulders area, where you're learning to move and navigate as you're going along in a 3D model of yourself, and just good as play and avoidance of obstacles as you go towards a goal of yours, and just for good health. Thank you. Hello, welcome. In this video we will address the tightness and ability to move in the shoulders themselves. I'm going to start with a very simple movement where I'm extending my arms to the side, and the only constant is, well, the two constants are rotational movement and fixation of the angle here. So I'm keeping my hand closed, but my thumb will always be pointing upwards at the beginning of this drill. So the hand is always like this, I'm not turning it this way or that way. So I'm going to start rotation in one direction, slowly making the circles larger and larger, and making sure that you're not in any way casting yourself back and forth. I'm making the circles greater and greater until I'm grazing my ears. This will be less or more according to where you are. And then you're making the circles a bit smaller and smaller until you're at the center again. After I've done this, I'm starting the rotation in the opposite direction. With continuously breathing, and again slowly making the circles larger and larger. Take your time with this. It may create this feeling of tiredness or heaviness, but that's just things opening up in your body. And make sure that you're not all sorts of bending and tweaking of your spine as you're going along. If you feel the bend, simply slow down until you reach a point where you can do the movement without haste. And then speed will come on its own. Okay, we've done both directions in the constant upwards position. Now I'm going to turn it so the palm is parallel to the ground, closing my hands, and I'm starting rotation in one direction, slowly building. Until I'm touching my ears, if you've got those, and then slowly back, and obviously backwards again. I'm simply explaining the movements, so when you're actually drilling it, it should take a lot more. Now another tip is to not extend your shoulder outside of the socket in this particular drill. It doesn't help. It may help in other movements. We've done this angle, now this angle. So I'm going in one direction. Slowly enlarging the circle until it's completely touching, and then I'm slowly making it lower and lower again, and in the reverse. This will also help if you're working on striking, as it will help you feel the actual weight and the ability to cast the weight of your arms and to move them from the body continuously. Now, the last angle that we'll do is facing backwards. So from here, I'm keeping the back of my palm parallel to the ground all the time, and I'm inserting in one direction. so. Until I'm fully closing, like so. Thank you. In the final chapter of the series, we'll be going over a tension understanding exercise. We're going to start with a bent arm version, and then we're going to go from that into a straight arm version, using the wall as leverage resistance. The idea behind the drill is very simple. The more that you understand the tension that lies and composes your dynamic posture, the easier it will be to move in a healthier manner, and easier it will be to coexist with yourself. I'm going to start by holding one hand to another, like so, and from here I'm going to release my knees to create a more mobile hip alignment, and from here I'm bringing my elbow up with a slight resistance from the other hand, and when the elbow is reached the end of its place, I'm going to add the arm to it. So from here, breathing, and down, and for the other hand. After you've done this, you will feel a greater connection between the two shoulders and shoulder blades. Now I'm going to activate the shoulder blades and shoulders in a forward-backwards manner. I'll show this in a 45-degree angle. Placing one fist forward and cupping it with the other hand, or vice versa. And then I'm moving my shoulder blade forward and backwards, like so, with the right resistance of the other side. So from here, and in reverse. This is part of a series of movements to allow you a greater degree of channeling, casting yourself forward and backwards, and being able to move without trying to brace from the ground and forward towards the combat, but instead I'm able to go over and simply let go of the energy forward, or simply relaxing forward. After I've done this, it's forward and backward, which is the easiest one to do. I'll do it in circles. So one hand holding the other, like this or like this, however you like, and I'm raising my shoulders with light resistance and circling forward and back with light resistance, and then circling this way, meaning that my shoulder goes full out and in. For this I need the movements of my shoulder blades. I'll show from the back. So here, or expanding, like so. And the last one would be this circle, where you're going forward, outer, backwards and in, and inward. This is this movement, out and in, forward, and together it will create a circular plane parallel to the ground. I'm going to do it with light resistance from myself. Now, the last two movements in this series are going to be around the world, overhead. So I'm holding one hand in front of the other, and with light resistance going overhead, back, coming forward, and in reverse. And the last one would be the simple going up and down at the back. So from here, one is pulling up, one is pulling down. And afterwards you can also play in a circle, for example. Like so.
the additional or mirror-like movement of this using the wall is to understand how the entire structure of the body dynamically supports any manifestation of force that you're creating. You will be manifesting force here, but hopefully not tension. So when you move, for example, from this position to this position with the wall, the idea is not to tense and move, because then you're moving like brackets of a watch from here, from this position to this position, which may look good, but in fact you are breaking your mechanism, and instead you can continually move from place to place in a much more agile manner. Hello and welcome to the last part of this Head and Shoulders series. In this part we will use the wall as a support to creating tension dynamically through the body by pushing our arms straight this time against the wall and moving our bodies from different angles and dynamically creating tension throughout our entire bodies. What this is meant to create is a throwing of tension instead of a casting of poses, meaning that if I am pushing the wall, I will be dynamically moving all the time and not creating, let's say, joints or knots of tension throughout the body. This will avoid creating problems and create a more whole and mobile and able structure throughout the body. What I'm doing is very simple. I'm simply relaxing a little bit against the wall, placing my hands in different positions around or at different angles, and pushing away from the wall at various angles. Afterwards, I will also do so at a twist. Let's start with our backs to the wall. I'm slightly relaxing on the wall, placing my hands straight, and instead of tensing, creating a tense structure and then pushing myself away, which is unhealthy. Instead, what I'm doing is continuously breathing and creating a movement that is smooth without any place where there is a heightened location of tension. So again, here breathing and like so. Then I'm adding a 45-degree angle to this, a little bit, like between this 45-degree angle, and again breathing and dynamically creating a moving structure that supports itself, but moving all the same. Now at 90 degree, and again breathing and letting go. Let's add another 45-degree angle, and you can also play with the way that you push, and with time you may find out that you can do more angles more freely. 45-degree angle, and keep your arms straight and just move from the body, from your breath, and so on. Lastly, put your arms parallel to your ears and this entire process will be repeated facing the wall. I'll show this at a different angle, like I'm facing the wall this way, and then you can see the movement easier in a certain way. So, and again, I'm starting with my hands parallel to my body, downward. Degree angle. Again, 45 increase. And what we're actually doing is mapping ourselves through tension patterns and creating a body that is, well, fluid in its motion and its declaration of tension. Now we'll do the same thing from the side. I'll show on this side of the wall. And what I'm doing is twisting my arm in this direction, twisting the arm in this direction, and again, not forcing tension into one part of my body as opposed to the other, keeping everything fluid. So
here, I'm slightly leaning on the wall. Twisting the other side. Now comes the fun part where I'm raising my arm up, leaning and I'll show the other part on the other wall. So I'm leaning, twisting dynamically, everything works together. That's the real juice of the work, upward. And again, of course, the last part would be just free play, where you're just bounding with the wall. Like so. This is somewhat of a flow, you can say flow perhaps drill, but the purpose is not the flow. The movement itself is inconsequential as long as it works. What really matters is continuously striving towards a proper goal, not a goal that is against something else, but towards something. Next one would be your continuous feeling of comfort and ability. Don't put yourself into a certain knot that you feel, or some position that you feel that may protect you, because the position is the key that opens just one lock. And lastly, the quality of the motion that comes from simply body awareness and mapping yourself so you're not controlled by currents outside of yourself. It will grant you true freedom and, of course, the ability to strike quite well. Thank you.